He was only 20 years old when he became king. 13 years later, he ruled most of the known world. His name was Alexander, and his ambition was forged in the shadow of a father who had revolutionized warfare and united a fractured Greece. When King Philip II was assassinated, the throne of Macedonia passed to his son. This was no ordinary inheritance. Alexander inherited not just a crown, but the most formidable army of the ancient world, the Macedonian phalanx. Armed with 18-foot pikes called sarissas, these disciplined soldiers formed an unbreakable wall of steel and flesh, a military machine designed for one purpose: conquest. But to the east lay a power that dwarfed Macedonia in every conceivable way. The Achaemenid Persian Empire was the largest, wealthiest, and most powerful empire the world had ever seen. Stretching from the shores of the Aegean Sea to the Indus River, it was a colossal entity ruled by the King of Kings, Darius III. From his magnificent palaces in Persepolis and Susa, Darius commanded armies drawn from dozens of nations, a seemingly endless supply of men and gold. For the Greeks, Persia was the ancient enemy, the domineering giant that had tried and failed to subjugate their city-states a century before. For Alexander, it was a challenge waiting to be met, an empire ripe for the taking. In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander led his army across the Hellespont, leaving Europe behind and stepping onto the soil of Asia. He was immediately met by a Persian force at the Granicus River. The Persian commanders, confident in their superior numbers and strong defensive position on the riverbank, expected an easy victory, but they had underestimated the young king. In a move of breathtaking audacity, Alexander personally led his elite companion cavalry in a direct charge across the river and straight into the heart of the Persian line. The ensuing battle was a stunning display of Macedonian might and Alexander's personal courage. The Persian front shattered, and Alexander secured his first major victory on Asian soil. The path into the heart of Persia was now open. A year later, at Issus, Alexander would face an even greater challenge. King Darius III himself had assembled a massive army to crush the Macedonian upstart once and for all. The battlefield was a narrow coastal plain, which limited the Persians' numerical advantage. As the two armies clashed, the fighting was brutal and desperate. Once again, Alexander saw his opportunity. He spearheaded a charge directly at Darius's position in the center of the Persian line. The sight of Alexander and his cavalry crashing toward him was too much for the King of Kings. Darius panicked, turned his chariot, and fled the battlefield. His flight triggered a complete collapse of the Persian army. The king had abandoned his soldiers, his camp, and even his own family. Alexander had not just defeated a Persian army, he had humiliated its king. The final decisive confrontation came in 331 BC on the dusty plains of Gaugamela. Darius, having learned from his past defeats, had carefully chosen the ground. It was flat and wide, perfect for his immense army, which included fearsome scythe chariots and war elephants. The Persians outnumbered Alexander's forces by at least 5-1. It was a battle that would decide the fate of an empire. As the Persian line advanced, a vast cloud of dust rose into the sky. Alexander, employing a brilliant and unorthodox strategy, advanced his right wing at an angle, drawing the Persian cavalry on the left flank out of position. This created a small, fleeting gap in the Persian center, right next to Darius. It was the moment Alexander had been waiting for. He wheeled his cavalry into a wedge and plunged through the gap, making another lightning strike for Darius. For the second time, the Persian king fled in terror. The battle turned into a rout, and the Achaemenid Empire was broken forever. With Darius defeated, the gates of the empire swung open. Alexander marched into Babylon, Susa, and the ceremonial capital of Persepolis, claiming their immense treasures. He was declared pharaoh of Egypt, where he founded the city that still bears his name, Alexandria. But his ambition knew no bounds. He pushed his weary army further east, across deserts and over mountains, into modern-day Afghanistan and Pakistan, and finally to the banks of the Indus River in India. His empire became a vast crucible of cultures, a world connected like never before, spanning 3 continents. But this colossal empire was built on the shoulders of one man. In 323 BC, after returning to Babylon, Alexander fell ill and died. He was just 32 years old. He left behind a legacy that would echo through millennia, a story of ambition, genius, and conquest on an almost mythical scale. He never lost a battle. He reshaped the map of the ancient world. His life was a brief, brilliant flame that illuminated history, forever leaving his mark, undefeated, unmatched, unforgotten.